the rough reality in relationship to chasing goals, right? A lot of us, we have aims and targets, but is there a diabolical aspect within grinding, within chasing goals, within pursuing, within putting forth effort? How do you see that? What do you think?
Yeah, the moment if your goals aren't yours, this is when the grinding gets tough and requires energy. And the question is, how can we do this while gaining energy?
When the goals aren't yours, see, okay, this is brilliant already. When the goals aren't yours, what does that imply, right? That's what we want to see. What is the implication there? And when the goals aren't ours, there has to be some form of conforming, some external pressure. And I mean, when we're operating from a place where the goals are not ours, but there are parental, societal, cultural pressures, where are we coming from?
Yeah, it's this like, do we have a connection to ourselves so that we can recognize our own goals? Or are we only looking outside? And I feel the default in society is to look outside first, because of course, like as a young child, you have no idea how the world works, and you learn by looking outside and mimicking. And the question is like, at what stage in your life are you getting out of this behavior, of this way of learning?
Right, so it starts from a young place, and it's almost natural, right? When we're children, when we're babies, we're meant to we're definitely more helpless than we are as adults. So it does make sense for some level of looking outside to occur. But this is our program. See, this is the nature of malleability. We're continuously changing. Insert quote, which is, you cannot step into the same river twice. The only constant is change. So with that being said, I think we have to look at, okay, it's not that we have to revolt against parents, society, or culture, but just how can we more so be aware of the influence of the program?
Yeah, I feel it's like a natural evolution. So it's a starting point. The starting point is taking the outside goals, maybe trying them out just to get a feeling, because it's like a mirror. It also shows you, it gives you feedback, and it shows you, who am I? Am I comfortable pursuing these kind of goals? And then I feel taking this feedback seriously. Like, okay, I'm pursuing goals someone else has imposed on me, and I get feedback. I mean, it's possible that immediately you have a hit. You know, that you start a job, for instance, and you feel, oh, this is perfect. This is where I want to be. Or you notice, oh, wait, this isn't me at all. And this is where paths get a different direction, or where you can see, is someone taking his life in a direction where they can be themselves, or are they ignoring the feedback they get and going further and further and further in the wrong direction? And of course, this leads to sickness and all sorts of not nice things.
Yeah. So we want to come at this from a wise lens, which is more so the opposite of our current healthcare system. And you're right, treat systems, ignore root causes. What we're talking about here is to look and be honest with ourselves. And this is probably one of the I don't want to say challenging, but this is where the opportunity lies for all of humanity, is to be more honest with ourselves by first becoming sensitive and aware to the fact that there's a program, that there are external pressures, but then there's also something inside, much beyond, almost beyond words. So now, with all that being said, we're going to look at our relationship to the ideas, the concepts of pursuing a goal, growing, progressing in life, right? Because what I'm definitely not saying here is that you should just do nothing for society and go inward and only go inward to this point where you see the ego, you understand external programming, but you revolt in an immature way, and that comes in the form of sort of being a menace to society or being one of those anarchy ones, or just not providing, not sharing, not really being you. So with all that being said, we're looking at how do we move through this life without using a force which came via the program, right? How do we move through this life without needing to chase or pursue growth or fulfillment while moving through this life? How do you see that?
Yeah, I feel it's a balance. And the balance is, of course, like there are certain duties you need to fulfill, and you're starting out on a certain path and just dropping everything and going, into the mountains and never talk to anyone again. That's not the solution. But the solution is like noticing, oh wait, am I on the wrong path? And then asking yourself, like, how can I change this? How can I figure out what's the right path for me? And this is where space comes in, creating the space for yourself to be able to listen to what your deeper self wants to tell you, because the deeper self already knows what the right path is, but you can only listen if you're quiet, if you create a quiet space. And this can, for instance, be, like activities where you flow, being in nature, especially gardening or whatever works, you see. And then you can start to listen to yourself and to observe those little nudges. Also, like, where are you pulled? I know there's like often a pull towards a certain thing, and it can be a loud pull, or it can be a very quiet whisper, like, look, this is something I'd really like to do. And this is where flow happens, and this is the space where the answers are already in.
The question, am I going down the wrong path? Or what path am I going down, right? Just to open up your mind to the point where you're willing and curious and honest enough to even ask yourself questions, right? The sad truth is that many people will not even ask themselves questions. Sometimes the program becomes so strong that the whisper is just totally ignored. And then they don't ask questions. And then why do you think people have physical manifestations in the form of disease? I don't know. Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's the one who's made this clear initially for me, right? He planted a seed, and he's planting many seeds, which is the physical and the psychological are so connected. They're so connected. So when we look at this path and where we're going and the willingness to ask questions, you see, in relationship to progressing and growing, we cannot be chasing money, status, and position. But the funny thing is that we can attract those things naturally by coming from a place which is not interested in chasing those things. Hence, what we're doing right here. Listen, the reason that this podcast is here, the reason that we write, is much beyond Justin having Lamborghini. But the fact is that the nature of reality if you come from a place of abundance, which is beyond Justin, me, I, my Lamborghini, that's not what I'm focused on. But the funniest aspect of the game is that you do attract abundance when you come from a place of true abundance. Now, and this is the trick, which is progress is rooted to scarcity. Growth is rooted to scarcity. Why? Well, if you were abundant, why would you be chasing growth or progress? If you were abundant, wouldn't you not need growth and progress? Wouldn't you just be so abundant? So that's the dynamic here. And all that being said, I'm not saying you don't do physical action in daily life, but the question really is, how can I align myself with values and become so aware of the root, the essence, the nature, the flavor, the vibe, the energy behind the value? And if you can see that, what's going to happen? We'll see.
Yeah, these are beautiful points. Exactly. It's the values. This is the core. Because when you know your values, then every decision is simple.
Right.
Because you can ask,
But the trick here is, do I value wealth because I'm scared of being broke? Or do I value wealth because I know that our world is so abundant that everyone can have wealth? So keep going.
The values. It's like every decision that comes your way is easier because you can ask yourself, are they aligned with my values? And this is exactly where everything comes in. I heard you just say, it's if those are like outside imposed goals, if those are hollow goals because they don't fulfill you, because they're not coming from your own values, then you chase them, you spend a huge amount of energy getting them. If you get them, and that may require a lifetime, then you've got them, and then you're like, oh, that's not what I wanted in the first place, because you realize they might not be aligned with your values. And money in itself is hollow. Of course, not having money is a problem. And being in this abundance mindset, like there's enough wealth for everyone, and also you deserve wealth, then it comes naturally to you, and then you don't have to spend tremendous amounts of energy to get it, because it's just coming naturally, because you're flowing. Why are you flowing? Because you're connected to your own values.
Yes. So connection, it implies some form of alignment. And really, we go for full circle here, as Myra started with something of the nature where if our goals are coming from the outside, not inside, it's the same thing. Are our values coming from the outside, right? Are they coming from grandpa, culture, religion, pressure? That isn't true alignment with you. See, that's the question. And when you're willing to ask such a question, you'll inevitably get answers, because the answers are within the quality of the question itself. Now, when you get asked a deep question, do not fucking think about the answer. Look at the question itself. Just let it sit with you. Look at the question. So now, everything that we're talking about here is coming to one point. And that one point is that there is something beyond words. There is a river which can absolutely move through all of us. And the only way for us to create the space for that river to actually move is to do all of the subtle details that we're talking about here, to truly go within and ask quality questions, to consider all the dynamic, branch-like variables that are constantly at play. How do you do this? The insight is there's an I, there's a me. There's a want, there's a desire, there's beliefs, preferences, likes, dislikes, biases, attachments, etc., etc., etc. But the game, where the true life lies, you'll go from merely existing to truly being alive. Your daily life will be something that you could have never imagined before. And it's only through doing the daily moment-to-moment true meditation. Not just sitting down and meditating for 30 minutes a day, but the real meditation is the everyday alignment, which creates the space. And that space allows for the river to flow. When that river flows, you'll catch the devious nature of when friction arises. When my dogs bark, right? That's not one of my favorite preferences. I can see my friction and let it go immediately, only through seeing it. It's not about letting it go. It's about seeing it. The letting go happens naturally. Appreciate you all. Thank you, Miss Myra. This was unterhaltsam, entertaining. And so what I'll say is I got my email list in a free 4-part video course for you guys down below. If you're interested in that, if you benefited from this, just hop on the email list. I'm writing daily long-form content there. And anything else on your end?
I feel this was a beautiful podcast. I enjoyed this a lot. Yeah, beautiful. and your newsletter is beautiful too. Just wanted to mention this. One of my favorites.
Danke. So guys, if you're on YouTube, drop a like, drop a comment. Let me know what was the most valuable thing you heard here from Myra or I. And if you're on podcast, rating a review, share it with a friend. Sincerely, have a great day.